Hello and welcome to Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Tyler and we are here in San Antonio, Texas to drive the updated 2023 Kia Telluride. Kia was nice enough to have us out. We're going to do some on-road driving and some off-road driving. We're going to check out what's new in this 2023 Telluride, what's the same, what's been improved, and hopefully we'll have a good time doing it. So let's get started. There are 5 new trim levels for the 2023 model year Telluride, but the 2 we're focusing on and driving today are the X line, which is here in silver, and the X Pro line, which is off to the right in blue. First and foremost, the front fascia's got a redesign, and as well as the side skirts and the rear bumper, but most importantly, those amber daytime running lights are gone. I think that's a big deal. I think that is what made a Telluride so recognizable, so bold move to take those away. Checking out the rear bumper on this X-Line version, this X-Line is the more streetable or more street-oriented version. It has slightly different side skirt design with that silver accent there, and it has 20-inch Michelins as opposed to the 18-inch Continental All-Terrains that you see on the X Pro there to the right in blue. Those 18s are supposed to be a little bit more rugged, supposed to deal with bumps a little bit better, and obviously those All-Terrains grip a lot better in the dirt. X Pro has redamped shocks and springs, making it sit 0.4 inches taller than the rest of the lineup, and also has a retuned all-wheel drive system. One thing that hasn't changed, which I think is for the better, is the drivetrain. We still have a 3.8-liter naturally aspirated V6, making 291 horsepower and 262 foot-pounds of torque. It's paired to an 8-speed torque-converted automatic transmission made internally by Hyundai Motor Group. In a world of turbos and CVTs, sometimes it's really nice to keep it simple and have a nice naturally aspirated V6 and a good, simple 8-speed automatic transmission. And that's not throwing shade, I actually think it's a good drivetrain. Stepping inside, the first thing you see is this updated 24-inch display. It houses 2 12.2-inch individual displays that replace the analog gauge cluster and the iPad-like center display in the previous generation. You also see this updated terracotta color interior, and interestingly enough, there's a couple new colors for the 2023 model year, including navy blue and green. So everybody please go out and buy the fun colors. The Napa leather extends to the back where there are 2 captain's chairs, and this is a 3-row SUV, so thankfully they make it super easy to get to the back. You just press a button and the seat folds forward and you have access to the 3rd row. Obviously it's not for the largest individuals. An adult might not fit back there so comfortably, but they really could if they tried. You start to see some evidence of cost cutting when you get all the way to the back, but again, you have to remember the price point, but you do still have charging all the way back here, as well as in the 2nd row, in the shoulder of the driver's seat of all places. So charging and technology access everywhere in this Telluride. Okay, so we are on road testing the 2023 Kia Telluride, and I think the biggest compliment I can give it so far in this X Pro line is that it's largely unchanged. Even with the 18-inch all-terrains, you would expect it to be a little bit louder, a little bit more mushy, but it's still kept all of its road manners. The handling, the turn-in, the response is all still there. We've been throwing it through some twisty corners following the people ahead of us, and actually following a 996 Porsche 911, and we kept up. So yeah, I think the biggest compliment, even given all of the extra off-road changes, the difference in suspension, the difference in springs, and the mushier tires, is that it's the same, and it was already very good. So even though the driving characteristics themselves are largely unchanged, actually sitting in this car and driving it as an experience and feeling the new interior, seeing the new screens in front of you, definitely gives it a much more premium experience than the previous generation. It's more high-tech. The screens have an amazing black tone to them. They're really impressive, almost rivaling like manufacturers along the lines of Audi. The customization that you have on the digital dashboard, the 2 12-inch screens in front of you, carry over from a lot of the things that you've seen in the Kia lineup elsewhere, as well as the Hyundai lineup elsewhere. So even though the driving characteristics are largely unchanged, being in here as an experience, having a nice interior around you, they've really hit the mark above this price point. I think they've done a really good job with this update and the material qualities. So on-road portion over, we're heading off-road now, and This is something I'm super interested in because this is something that I think we could probably all agree that most people wouldn't do in their Telluride, but Kia's point here is that it is capable enough to do it. So what's revised on this X Pro line, like we talked about already, is springs, shocks, all-terrain tires, and a little bit of reprogramming in the software and a few different drive modes to hopefully help us get through this. So I want to pay attention to how much slip we have. We want to make sure that the clutches, or however this all-wheel drive system works, is adequate enough to get us up hills and distribute the power equally enough to get us through all. So we're on the off-road course now, and so far it's nothing too extreme, but right now we are carrying a wheel or two up in the air. Before we started this, we did put this thing in full diff lock mode, which traditionally in off-roaders, when you lock the center diff, you get all-wheel drive all the time. But we have tested a little bit of the chassis articulation. And I will say, just going over these bumps, the more like rigid off-road bumps, as well as like the bigger articulations, even on the street and over here, you can feel how well damped this chassis is. With the tires and the upgraded shocks and springs, it definitely makes it a little bit more forgiving off-road. All right, so we're testing hill hold assist right here, which may not look too extreme on the camera, but from in the car, we're about to be on that hill and we're about to see nothing but sky. So I don't know anything about incline angles, but we're at a pretty steep incline here. So the point of this is that we're about to go down a pretty steep incline into a ditch. It's going to test the approach angles again in the front bumper, so we're not scraping the front bumper on this incline when we go down. We're going to stop. The car is going to hold it on the hill at its steepest incline, and then we're going to transition from the brake to the gas, and it'll do a lot of the work for us. So heading down here, testing approach angle, hitting the brake, and now it's holding us. My foot's off the gas and the brake, and now we're looking at sky and heading on back down. So yeah, it clawed its way up a pretty short little but steep incline very well. The tires did their job. The all-terrains are not slipping on any of this gravel or dirt, and it's a pretty high grip surface, if I'm honest. Testing hill descent control now. One of the new features for all Tellurides, I believe, is just this hill descent control. So the point of this test is to go up this incline, come back the other side, and not have my feet on the pedals at all. And with hill descent control enabled, it will, in theory, slow us down to a speed that it deems is safe. So again, looking at nothing but sky, hit the brakes at the top, feet off the brake, and it stops it for us. You can actually feel that it drags the rear brakes, which is what you would want it to do in a situation like that coming down the hill. You can tell that it biases the rear, which is actually pretty interesting. For what I would say 95% of people will ever use these for, I don't know.
Fantastic job.
That I would ever see a Telluride do what we're doing with them right now. Overall, I want to thank Kia for having us out to Texas for a few days to get a really thorough first drive on the 2023 model year Telluride, both the X Pro and X line. For those of you who are interested in the 2023 lineup, they will be producing around 30,000 more units a year, so that will hopefully help reduce the dealer markup that we've been seeing with these because demand has been so high. We are super excited to hopefully get a go in this for a little bit longer of a time period as a press loaner and give that extra 500-pound towing capacity a test. Until next time, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you soon.